أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا مولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى العالم الغيب والشهادة فنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Good brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, so far in this Ashura, this is our sixth talk today, and so far we have discussed about various things including the blessings of Muharram, what does word Shia and the terminology Shia means, and how come it is the original and the real Islam. And then we talked about our first leader, Imam Ali alayhi salam, and we talked about various prominent companions or ashab of Rasulullah and Imam Ali. And then we talked about very briefly roles and the part that our great ulama have played in progressing our understanding of Islam. And today, inshallah, we will talk very briefly about various rights, duties and responsibilities we have being the Shia and the follower of the true and original Islam. And inshallah tomorrow we will continue this with the similar thing, but the merits and fadail of being a Shia. So the ayat that I have recited today is a famous ayat quoted from a famous surah which we hear every time we do Namaz-e-Jummah or Salat-al-Jummah. This is chapter number 62 of Quran Pak, and the ayat number is 8 of Surah Al-Jummah. قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفَرُّونَ مِنْهُ. Say, O Prophet, that the death that you are trying to avoid, فَإِنَّهُ مُلَاقِيكُمْ. It will catch you, it will get you. ثُمَّ تَرَدُّونَ إِلَى الْعَالَمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ. And then surely you will be brought to the knower of the unseen and the seen. فَنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And he will then inform you of what you have been doing in this world. I think it's appropriate that to mention that in this ayat we understand that we will be questioned on the day of judgment, and we will be asked and told about what we have been doing in our worldly life. Our performance will be judged on the day of judgment. So it follows that we don't just have rights as a Muslim, as a Shia, and as a human being. We have responsibilities as well. And it is said that, and it's quoted from Rasulullah, that Allah kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulu ala an ra'iti. Every one of you is a shepherd, and every one of you is responsible for its flock. So we will be asked about various things, not just our families, but everything else. And to be honest, the rights or the responsibilities that we have can broadly be divided into three. Huququllah, the rights of Allah on us; Huququn Nafs, the right of ourselves on us; and Huququl Ibad, the right of various people around us on us. And this Huququl Ibad not just means the right of people, but rights of things as well. And we'll talk, if we got time, we'll talk briefly about that as well. Let's take Huququllah first, the rights of Allah. And I think it will be sufficient if I just quote or read out a quote of our fourth Imam in his famous book Risalatul Huquq, which incidentally our Maulana Maqbul Alvi Sahab mentioned a few nights ago. Risalatul Huquq is a brilliant book, and it follows again from what Maulana Sahab said, that it is actually said sometimes that not only children but adults, as adults, we do not even know the titles or the names or the work of our leaders. And I think there are certain books which are essential as every household item of a Shia Muslim. Starting from Quran, there is Nahjul Balagha, of course, compiled by Sayyid Razi, all the speeches and writings and sayings of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then there is Sahifa Kamila or Sahifa Sajadiya, and then this Risalatul Huquq, Tawzil Masail, the Islamic laws. And I think yesterday only we mentioned at least 7 books from our various ulama which are quite important. And if you ask among ourselves, I think we will probably be able to tell the names at least of some of the ahadith book of our Sunni brethren. But the names of the books that we have as a treasure, I don't think most of us, or many of us anyway, have heard of it. So the book Risalatul Huquq is translated in English as well, treatise on rights. It's a masterpiece collection. I recommend that if you get time to read it, do that. So our fourth Imam said about Huquq Allah in Risalatul Huquq, he said the greatest right of Allah against you is that you worship Him without associating anything or anyone with Him. And when you do that with sincerity or ikhlas, He has made it obligatory, binding or wajib upon Himself to give you sufficiency in the affairs of this world and the next.
MashaAllah.
So the question arises, what does worshipping Allah without associating anything or anyone with Him really means? And obviously it does not mean anything that we sometimes hear from some of the so-called Muslims who are misguided, what it means and the rest of it. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned Himself in ayat number 56 of 51st chapter Surah Zariyat of Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I have not created jinn or human beings except for my own ibadat. And again, what does ibadat mean? Serving. And again, what we can talk about, what does really serving Allah mean? Allah has created us and is beyond any need that we serve Him. Lot of explanations, and it's a long debate of what does that actually mean. But some people think that it actually means by serving Himself, He means serving His creation or creatures and the mankind. So in another multi-purpose ayat of Quran, which is ayat number 90 of chapter number 16, Surah An-Nahl, it's a great lesson in ikhlaq. Allah Ta'ala says, Inna Allaha ya'muru bil-adli wal-ihsan wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha anil fuhsha'i wal-munkar wal-baghi. Surely Allah enjoins the doing of justice and doing of good to others, and the giving to the family, Zul Qurba, and He forbids indecency and evil and rebellion. And again, ayat number 16 of chapter number 64, Surah At-Taghabun, He says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ. So be careful of your duty to Allah. Obviously, as much as you can. And it is not enough just to believe in Allah. We must obey Allah as well.
Sure.
Moving on to the next bit. So after Huquq Allah, there is Huququn Nafs. So our right on ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again says in ayat number 105 of chapter number 5, which is Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu alaykum anfusakum. O you who believe, take care of yourself, your nafs. So it is, brothers and sisters and children, it is very important that we look after ourselves and do not get astray. We are discouraged to put ourselves into positions and places when it would be difficult to protect ourselves and our nafs and our bodies from harms. So we should avoid companies like those where we know that such risk exists. And no doubt it's the fatwa of all maraje that we should try and avoid significantly self-harming ourselves. Our fourth Imam again says in Risad al-Huquq, the right of yourself, nafs, is that you employ it in obeying Allah. You give your tongue its right, your hearing its right, your sight its right, your hand its right, your leg its right, your stomach its right, your private part its right, and you seek help from Allah in all that. And it's you can expand on each single bit of it. What does protecting or giving the right to your tongue mean? How can you protect or give the right to your hearing and sight and so on? Moving on to Huquq al-Ibad. I think last year Ali Asghar brother sitting over there quoted an alim deen saying that we all know that usul al-deen are the roots of our religion, especially those who come to our nisab, they all do. Roots of our religion are usul al-deen, branches of our religion are furu al-deen. Yeah? But a tree is not recognized by its roots or by its branches. It's recognized by its fruits.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
And it is said that the fruit of the tree of Islam are our akhlaq, are the akhlaq of those who follow it.
MashaAllah.
And there are stages and priorities of our rights and responsibilities to others. The first person who deserves our rights more than anybody else is our parents. It doesn't matter if they are not even Muslims. If they are our parents, they deserve our duties to them. And Allah Ta'ala says in Quran Pak in ayat number 23, chapter number 17, Surah Al-Israel, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And your Lord has commanded that you shall not serve any but Him and be kind to your parents. So Allah says that we should not worship anyone but Him, and in the same sentence, without any commas or full stops, and as we say, without and in the same breath, after mentioning that we should not worship anyone but Allah, it tells us to be good to our parents. So it shows how important it is to Allah Ta'ala that we do that. And next responsibilities for us are our families, our wider families, communities, neighbors, our societies, country, this planet and everything that the planet has and its inhabitants. However, the rights of mu'mineen and mu'minat over each other are greater than those of others. And again Allah Ta'ala says in chapter number 9, Surah At-Tawbah, ayat number 71, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. And the believing men and believing women are guardians of each other. Time is ticking on, so I'll just mention very briefly that 2 years ago we went to Ziyarat of Iraq, and some of us have been to Ziyarat of Iraq recently. Muharram Bhai, who's not here because he's not feeling well, and may Allah Ta'ala give him shifa. This year Kamran has been there, Tasawwur Bhai has been there, and I believe Kamal is planning to go to Ziyarat inshallah this year. May Allah accept all our ibadat. When I went there a couple of years ago, I had the good fortune of meeting the Naib Imam our Marj Taqleed, Sayyid Ali Sistani. And Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani gave us a brief talk, and in that talk he said that it's my fatwa for those people who live in the West especially, that they must follow the rule of the land, the law of the land.
MashaAllah.
So it means that if we don't follow the rule of the land or the law of the land, or we break law, we're not just committing a crime of the land, we're doing a haram thing, we're doing a guna. And the same thing, I had the fortune to meet Ayatollah Uzma Bashir Najfi as well, and he said exactly the same thing. And we all know that our Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, with his family and friends, gave the greatest possible sacrifice in the world and the earth in the performance of Amr bil Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar. May Allah Ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to do the right things and avoid doing the bad things. Wa ma alayna illa al-balagh. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.